What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Big Dog Brett. Thanks so much for tuning in. Today we're going to be talking about the Alabama Crimson Tide and their 2021 expectations and schedule. See how we do. Alright guys, without further ado, I'm just going to jump right into it. As you guys can see, I'm going to go ahead and throw up the schedule over there somewhere and you guys kind of follow along. So there's a lot to get into. I'm going to try and get through it as quick as I can, but I want you guys to know I'm going to skip over the games that I really don't feel like are all that important. You'll see. So the first thing let's talk about is, what does Alabama have coming back? What is Alabama losing? Are they going to be able to compete? The normal questions any average football fan is going to have. Now, if you're not an average football fan and you're one of those diehard fans, which Alabama has some, don't jump down in the comment section telling me that about the process. And look, I get it. Okay, Alabama's going to be a good football team. We know that. But if this is, I'm going to give you guys some information. I'm also going to give some information to the guys that don't necessarily know all the ins and outs. So at least they have talking points with their friends around the water cooler. So you get some of that from here. First and foremost, we're going to talk about some of the losses we had last year. Mac Jones is gone. Mac Jones is an absolute powerhouse of a quarterback. What a great guy. But Alabama did lose a lot. So they lost a Heisman Trophy winner, Devonta Smith. They lost quarterback Mac Jones, who was number 3 in the Heisman running, and they lost Najee Harris, who was the number 5 running back. Number 5 Heisman in the Heisman race, candidacy, whatever you want to call it. So you lost the 1, 3, and 5 guys. Don't you find that a little bit odd? Yeah, it's a terrible joke. It's terrible. Wide receiver Jalen Waddle is also gone. Left tackle Alex Leatherwood is also gone. Left guard Deontay Brown is gone. Center Landon Dickerson is gone. And tight end Miller Forristall. Now, I'm not the ones that I'm not going to be the guy to jump up here and say, hey, you lost all of this offense. You're going to struggle. I still think Alabama's going to be really solid. I still think they're going to have a great football season, but that's a lot to lose. I don't care who you are. Clemson's facing a similar problem. You lose your number 1 receiver, your number 1 quarterback, and your number 1 running back. It's exactly what happened to Clemson. Alabama's built different, though. Now, that to say, let's look at who's left and projected to start. So they're looking at Bryce Young to start. There's some talks out there about some of the other quarterbacks out. This is Bryce Young's job. It's not going to be a problem for him. He's going to take this over. He's going to be just fine at this position. So I don't perceive there to be any problems in picking out who the starting quarterback is going to be. They've done a great job here in the last 3, 4, 5 years of developing quarterbacks. I think they have exactly what they want in Bryce Young. Now, it is worth noting that Bryce Young was expected to start last year, but Mac Jones beat him out for that job. So it's tough to say exactly what you're getting out of Bryce Young. Is he as good as Mac Jones? Golly, almost nobody was. The guy had like a 78% completion percentage. That's incredible. But is Bryce Young good enough to do what needs to be done at Alabama? And I think absolutely. I think he's going to do just fine there. You got a running back, Brian Robinson Jr., strong running back. I think he'll be just fine. Now, there's a couple of guys here I'm going to talk about. These guys are incredible. So you're looking at John Mechie, the third. Mechie can catch you. The guy can. He's absolute. You're almost going to see zero drop-off between John Mechie and Waddle, John Mechie and Devonta Smith. This guy has some incredible hands. And he gets help from Xavier Williams and Slade Bolden. So you can absolutely expect that the wide receiver room is going to be just fine. These are veteran guys. They know what they're doing. Left tackle Evan Neal is back. Tommy Brown, left guard. Center Chris Owens Chris Owens is replacing Landon Dickerson, but the guy's talented. I think you're going to be just fine. You got right guard Emil Ikior. I'm not sure how you say his name. I don't name these guys. You've got Javon Cohen at right tackle, and then at tight end, the monster Jaleel Billingsley. This guy's a beast. And also watch out for Cameron Latu, 6'5" tight end, has played in 25 games. 23 of those games in the last 2 years. First year at Alabama, he only played in 2 games, but he only missed 1 game last year. This kind of senior level executive leadership is just something you can't just get anywhere, and he's going to add a lot. He's going to add a ton to helping this team out. So, to get started on this, let me pull up the schedule here real quick. So you're going to start out. This is a great game to start out on. You guys are going to be starting out against Miami. Now Miami is actually expected to do really well this year. They went 8-3 last year, but they could easily win 10 games this year. Does that mean they're going to beat Alabama? No. Let's be honest here. I think Alabama's like a 14-point favorite or something like that. So this game's not expected to be close, and that's if Miami can generate offense under Derek. I'm not sure how you say it either. King. He went down at the end of the year last year after suffering a knee injury in the bowl game. So we don't know how that's going to turn out. But Manny Diaz is trying to get that team turned around. Now, they could win 10 games this year. The schedule just, with losses to the obvious, right? Alabama's going to be their first loss. They're going to start out 0-1 against Alabama. With them expected to win 10 games this year, to give you an idea of how big of a step that is forward, Mark Richt was the last coach to take them to 10 wins. He did it in 2017. And before that, you have to go all the way back to 2003 when they won 10 games under Larry Coker. But that was back when Miami was in the Big East. So this will be the second time in the team's SEC tenure where they'll actually get 10 wins, or should. So we'll see what happens in that game, but I'm giving the win to Alabama on this one. Mercer Bears, we don't even have to talk about this game. That's a win. Florida Gators. Florida lost Kyle Trask, Kyle Pitts. They're expecting to have Emory Jones take over the quarterback position. He's supposed to be a dual threat quarterback. From what I've seen from Emory Jones, I'm not super impressed. I'm not really worried about him in the Alabama game. I don't think he's going to be able to generate the kind of offense that it's going to take to keep up with Alabama. So for me, I think this is a pretty easy win. I would think that Florida's going to come into this game. It's third game of the season. Alabama's rolling in 2-0 after having beat a pretty good Miami team. I would look for probably a very similar performance. I would say the scores are going to be very similar between the Miami game and the Florida game. And with Miami potentially actually scoring more points than Florida. But we'll see. Southern Miss Golden Eagles, you're rolling in here 3-0. This is an easy win. This is your fourth win. And then we actually get to a game that's got a little bit of interest for me. So now we're talking about the Ole Miss Rebels. So the Ole Miss Rebels has been working under Lane Kiffin. Lane Kiffin last year gave Alabama a pretty good scare for a while. I think the game was really close up until like the fourth quarter. Which seems to be a trend, unfortunately. if you're a team that's trying to beat Alabama, that fourth quarter is just brutal on you. So there's a lot of hype for a team that returns 10 starters from a defense the defense that allowed 38 points a game. Ole Miss, you can't be doing that, man. Ole Miss had the number 3 total offense in the country last year. Think about that. The number 3 total offense. So that means, think about the top offenses last year. Alabama, Florida, Clemson, Ohio State, Ole Miss is in the mix. So when you're looking at those teams, you got to say, wow, the offense can really compete. If the defense can get it figured out, Ole Miss is going to be dangerous. I think this is almost like a revenge game. This was the first team I think last year that really gave Alabama a scare. I think that they want to go in and they want to put their foot down on Ole Miss. I think this is going to be a really, really hyped up game. They have some talent at Ole Miss. I think that Ole Miss is getting it turned around. If Ole Miss can generate a little bit of defense, this game could scare you. I do think Alabama walks away with the win, but I think it's going to be closer than what some people think. So I'm going to go ahead and give the win to Alabama, but I'm going to go ahead and let you know right now. Don't be surprised if this game scares you a little bit. So now you come off of a 5. You're at 5-0. You're playing at College Station, Kyle Field, against Texas A&M. Your Ole Miss game was at home. You've played in Atlanta, Tuscaloosa, Gainesville, Tuscaloosa, and now you're playing at College Station in Texas. If they get the bells out here, this is going to be a Texas A&M team that's riding really high. Jimbo Fisher has done a great job out there at Texas A&M. They're trying to turn Texas A&M into a powerhouse. They're trying to make a statement. They came in second last season behind Alabama in the West. This is a very strong team. Now, here's the problem. They have lost veteran quarterback, and I believe one of the best quarterbacks they've ever had at Texas A&M with Kellen Mond. They're looking to be starting quarterback Zach Calzada. He's a sophomore. They're expected to win 10 games this season. I don't know how this game is going to go. If Texas A&M can get into a rhythm, 5th or 6th game in the season, this could potentially be a bit of a surprise. This is another game that could be close. I'm still gonna give it to Alabama. I think not having a veteran quarterback is going to be pretty tough to beat Alabama with. I think you need a lot more leadership behind center to be able to pull off a win against Alabama, even if it's Texas A&M. But I think this game's going to be close for a while. I think this game's going to be really close for a while. It's either going to be close until the 4th quarter, or it's going to be a blowout by halftime. It's one of those two. It's not going to be a back and forth very much. It's going to be tight. So, Tennessee Then October 16th, Alabama goes to Starkville to play the Mississippi State Bulldogs. Mississippi State Bulldogs have kind of fallen off over the years. This used to be a pretty interesting team, but at least to me. But now it really seems like there's just not a lot out there. They've basically, in my opinion, become almost a Vanderbilt. They're not going to be able to compete with Alabama. Alabama's going to go in there and just beat the brakes off of them. And there's nothing Mississippi State's going to be able to do. This is going to be a tune-up game for Alabama, making adjustments and changes as to whatever they needed to correct after the Texas A&M game. Then they get the Texas Vols in Tuscaloosa. Texas is still recovering. They got Chris or Josh Heupel, whatever his name is. He's not going to be able to turn this team around in a year. Tennessee has so many problems. And I think I said Texas, but I meant Tennessee. Tennessee has so many problems. They got a culture problem. They're trying to get that fixed. They got players leaving left and right. The coaching staff is trying to develop rapport with the students. They're with the players. They've got a lot of problems in Tennessee. Do I think Tennessee is going to be able to compete? No, it won't even be close. This will be a blowout. And then, so here you are, 8 games into the season. You're 8-0, probably going to be ranked number 1 in the country, if not number 2. And that really just depends on how the games go in some of the other divisions early. You get a bye week on October 30th, which I kind of like playing around Halloween. I think that October 30th, 31st game is really great. It's going to be really interesting to see what happens there for the other teams. But you guys have it all. So this is going to be a prep week for you guys to play LSU. There are people that are high on LSU. I am not one of them. I still feel like LSU has so much work to do. They are still so far behind. You're not going to convince me that you go undefeated and then have a disaster of a year and then immediately become relevant again. I just don't feel that way. I feel like Texas A&M could easily beat LSU. I feel like Ole Miss could beat LSU. So you're talking 3 teams in the West already that's going to be beating LSU. I don't think there's anything to worry about here. I think the amount of talent on the field at Alabama alone is enough to pull off a win against LSU. This is played in Tuscaloosa. I don't see a problem here. All right, so I'm going to give the win to Alabama for LSU. If Coach O doesn't pull off a magnificent win somewhere, and this is one of the few opportunities he has, he either has to beat Texas A&M and Ole Miss, or he has to pull off a win against Alabama. I feel like if he doesn't do that, he's probably on a hot seat. That's just my opinion. But he's not beating Alabama this year. By this time, Alabama will be rolling against pretty much everybody they play. Now, November 13th, a week later, back in Tuscaloosa. So you actually get you get 4 games in a row in Tuscaloosa, and then another game in Auburn, Alabama. So this is a home stretch for Tennessee. For the Tide. They're going to be just fine by the time they get to this point in the season. You're looking at playing the New Mexico Aggies at Tuscaloosa. Aggies in years past have been a great football team. This is probably the last game that Alabama's going to take really seriously until they get to the SEC championship. New Mexico State's not going to present a problem. Alabama's going to win this game. It's pretty simple. Arkansas. So Sam Pittman's been trying to turn that team around. Arkansas actually surprised some people last year. It surprised me. But this Arkansas, I'm sorry, it's Arkansas. Arkansas is not on a caliber of Alabama, and probably will not be for 10 years. Granted, there's a lot that's going on at there's a lot that's going on at Alabama. You got Bill O'Brien as a new offensive coordinator taking over after Steve Sarkisian, who's now the head coach at Texas. They change out 4 out of 5 offensive coaches. But I would be remiss to say, if I didn't say, they've won 5 titles under 4 different offensive coordinators, so I don't really see how this is a factor. So, sorry, Arkansas. Win Alabama. And a big win. And then we get to one of the games that everybody wants to watch every year, the old Iron Bowl. This is Auburn, Alabama. This year it's played in Auburn. Last year it's played in Alabama. Tuscaloosa, excuse me. The last time, well, let's just say Gus Malzahn will not be returning. So Auburn gets a new head coach in Brian Harrison after the firing of Gus Malzahn. Gus Malzahn had been on and off the hot seat for some crazy reason. They had given him a inflated contract. For 1 year, he beat Georgia and Alabama back to back. Both were ranked number 1. So that bought him a little bit of time, but he just couldn't get it going. He couldn't get it figured out. So he ended up losing his job. Brian Harrison steps in. He comes from Boise State. He's done extremely well out there. The last full season they had out there, last season he was 5-2. The year before that he was 12-1. He's a really good coach. From 2014 to 2019, he only had 1 season where he had 9 wins or less. Everything else was 10, 11, or 12 wins. He can coach. But it's in the Mountain West. Most people don't even know that's a conference, and they don't know it's a conference for a reason. Now, when you step into the SEC, things change. The game is faster. Can he get it figured out? Can this be the coach that Auburn has hired to start beating Alabama on a consistent basis? Not with Bo Nix. I'm sorry. Listen, Bo Nix is a quarterback. Is he a good quarterback? I can't make that statement. But it is Auburn. It is Alabama. It is a rivalry game. New coach, new offensive coordinator. If you're looking for a good rivalry game this year, this ain't it. This is not it. Alabama's going to absolutely destroy Auburn. They're going to be riding super high. The only 2 teams on here that I really see having a shot at beating Alabama this year is either going to be a surprise upset from Ole Miss, or it's going to be a surprise upset from Texas A&M. I really feel like those are the only two teams that are going to be able to generate enough offense to keep up with Alabama. You would have to have an Ole Miss. You have to have the Ole Miss defense really step up, and then you would have to have Alabama's offense spit and sputter. Same thing with Texas A&M. They've got to figure out their quarterback situation. Their defense may be able to stand up to Alabama's offense for a little while, but if they can't generate offense, they're just not going to win that game. So I really don't want to pick anybody undefeated to the end of a regular season, but looking at the schedule, I can't really see anything that would stand in their way. So now I am going to do other videos and other teams. We're trying to get to, I think I changed it to 4,200, maybe let's do 4,250. Let's try to get to 4,250 by the beginning of the season, which will be October 4th. That's week 1. I don't count week 0 because there's only like 4 games played. So if you guys would hit like, subscribe, share, don't forget to hit the thumbs up, hit the bell and the notification. Go check out the store. Don't forget to become a member as the season goes forward. We're going to have exclusive content that's for members only, so don't forget to join the channel. 3 different levels. You can pick what you want. It's not expensive, but it does support the channel and help us get more content, more creation, more gear, more merch, more stuff for you guys. We really appreciate it. Thanks so much for tuning in. You guys do me a favor. Have a great day. God bless. Go Dogs.